the liaison role really requires sort of being that communication person between Flex and the PTA, which for most schools would probably mean with the PTA presidents and with their executive board, as well as the broader PTA membership. And then communicating out to our school community, as well as with our principal and maybe the assistant principal, whoever is the primary contact of the staff, to make sure that sort of two signs. One, from the planning perspective, that everyone who maybe needs to be at the table and engaged in the conversation is engaged and has the opportunity to raise concerns, ask questions, provide input, give feedback about, what's working well, what maybe we should consider. And then also sort of more of the marketing and the communication piece. Flex does a lot of that for you, but there's a value to being tied into the community and communication channels that are more open to your PTA liaison, and that's where I found a lot of my time was making sure that I was helping facilitate the communication between Flex and those various stakeholders.
What do you think for a PTA that might be joining Flex? What would you tell them about the liaison role? Because I think it's such an important role because, as you say, it's both sides. It is the planning, it is the communicating part. So it's a really important piece. So can you talk about just how important that liaison role is to what we do?
Sure. So, I mean, the PTA liaison role is critical because Flex brings their expertise of, all the pieces that need to be built for the program, but the PTA liaison sort of brings what are the specific needs of the school. Like they bring that to the table so that Flex is aware of what those needs are and can help us plan for accordingly. So the PTA liaison role is critical, and I wouldn't want to not make it sound like it requires a lot of time, but at the same time, it is so much less time than it would be. You had to have a PTA volunteer who was, in fact, coordinating your whole program. So it's sort of a cool role to play because you get to facilitate communication, help make some decisions. You have to be sort of in the weeds and know the details. Like, for our school, the scholarship program that the PTA as well provides is critical. And there's a whole, more moving balls that need to be held and making sure that the right people are involved and whatnot. So there's a time commitment to it, but a lot of it is really just being generally engaged and aware of what's going on, who's holding which ball, helping provide hopefully quick and efficient feedback when a decision needs to be made, and just being ready to know when the baton's yours and pass the baton when you don't need it, because Flex is really there to make our life easier. Right. And Flex does.
Well, let's be honest with each other. You and I are kind of marketing nerds. We both enjoy marketing. So, I try, we try, and I try and provide different forms of 5 different ways to talk to parents about yoga or Lego or Minecraft, whatever it is. For you, it's what you do day in and day out. So I think that comes naturally. But what about for somebody who is not too much of a marketer or maybe a writer? Can you talk about the supplies that we provide, for example, the liaison playbook?
Great, yeah. So Flex, the toolkit that Flex provides the liaison is great. Not only for people who maybe are not as familiar with marketing and communications, but even for those of us like myself who I do live and breathe marketing and communication. I get the importance of it. Doesn't change the fact that I've got a almost full-time job and 2 kids to raise and I'm constantly busy. So the toolkit is not only really valuable because it provides a playbook and a lay of the land of here's what you need to be doing when, and here's some example emails that you can send out and thought-provoking subject lines that you can use. For someone who maybe that doesn't come natural to, it's helpful in the sense of you have sort of a template that you can just send out. But even for those who could come up with it on their own, or know that it's important to send, it's also just a time saver and a reminder, like, oh, yep, I've got to do that now. So the marketing support and the playbook that Flex provides for the liaison and the PTA is really helps drive forward the success of the program, because you have to be on top of sending that stuff out to let your families know that it's there in order for them to have time to make their plans, to utilize it. And, ultimately, if you have this great program and they're not aware of it, or they just don't have time to plan to use it, then it's a little bit for naught, and that's not what you want. So the communication piece is important, and Flex tries to give you the tools to make that as interesting and as easy as possible.
Well, I meant marketing nerd in the nicest possible way, of course. And I love working with you. I can honestly say I have learned some really neat things from you, and some of the stuff you've put out. So we work really well as a partnership. So let's keep that partnership going. Love Rock Creek Forest, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Josh. It's nice to talk to you today.